Welcome back to the next episode of Tweaks Garage. So, in this next episode of Series 2, we're going to be talking about the cam and engine modifications I've done to Goliath and its 18 horse Duramax. So, I'd have more hands-on content in this video if it didn't get deleted. So just bear with me. We're just going to talk about it for a little bit to cover the stuff I can't show. So the cam I purchased was from NR Racing. It's for the GX390. This is their 280 series cam. And the grind that I ended up going with was the 211. Now they advertise the 211 as the marine grind, maximum torque cam. It's designed for 2,000 to 5,500 RPM, extreme torque in that area. 11:1 or lower compression ratio, AC springs, heavy duty springs required. So I already got it in there, so I'm not going to take it all back apart. But we can talk about it a little bit. So I did measure the base circle on both cams, both the old stock one and the new one. And then the lobe height, and then figure out what the lift difference was. So it is 280, and the stock cam was 273. The profiles are different, and the duration is slightly different too. But that's something I'm not going to try and get into to show you like the differences of that, because they've got it all figured out. These are the stock springs. I put 50 pounders in there. So I based that off of what one of Redbeard's videos, he talks about building a monster 440, because this Duramax is 440 cc's. So he got 50 pounders, at least that's what he says in the video. He doesn't really necessarily talk about the cam. I guess Go Power Sports was gonna offer it, but they never did. So found it on NR Racing. That's probably where they were gonna get it from, at least my suspicions. But taking things apart, pulling the springs out, I use this tool. Just a standard valve seat retainer tool. Yeah, let's go with that. For automotive use. I forgot I had this in the toolbox, which would make putting the springs in the go-kart so much easier. But basically, you put it over the retainers, valve stem retainer tool. There we go. And you hit it with a hammer, and it pops the old ones out because the tip's magnetized. And you put the new ones, you place the new ones in, hit it with a hammer, and it pops them back in. Boom, bam, done. Sometimes you gotta take a second hit. But, well, while taking things apart, I found that the stock springs sit on these washers inside the head. Now when I measured them, let's set this guy right. When I measured them, they measured 40 thou. And when I compared the spring height to the stock ones, the 50 pounders were taller. So, looking at it, I was like, you know what? That kind of looks the same size as something else I've dealt with. So, I searched in my parts bin and found some of these, which I pulled out of a Mazda BP05. It's their basically the dual cam Mazda 1.8s from the 90s. These are the washers they put in their heads below the valve springs. They were the same size. You know, I wonder if the springs would fit too. Anyways, when I measured them, they were like 21 thou, so half the thickness. So I've swapped them out, swapped out the stock ones with these. Obviously this one's kind of rusty. I cleaned them up really, really well. I swapped them out to hopefully help stay away from coil bind. And also, these are kind of needed, or else you'll wear out the head from the stiffer springs. So I've gone and done that. The head gasket I went with was a 28 thou. The stock gasket is 52, probably. Yeah, 52. So I've cut that almost in half. I could have probably went thinner, but I didn't, because I didn't know till later. But while everything was apart, I bought some modeler's clay, and I'm gonna show an expert from that video, but I clayed the head to find out, without a gasket, of course, without a gasket, to find out how much valve clearance that I have with the new cam as well. I think it ended up being 200 thou, so more than enough. I could probably run no head gasket, but we're gonna run a gasket. But that's so far what I've done. So these new springs are these are about 1.5 inches. These are about 1.6 to 3. And they put a shim underneath of it that's about 41 thou thick. Obviously, I'm thinking to reduce wear on the head. But I have these old Miata shims. Miata, whatever, BP05. And they fit. And they're thinner. So I'm going to go with those. They're about half the thickness. So make use of old parts, right? Another tricky part. Oh God. Ah, fuck. About 20 thou without the head gasket. Or, I take that back, not 20 thou, 200 thou. Yeah, about 200 thou. Stay tuned for the next episode of Tweaks Garage, where we're going to be covering the charging system upgrades to Goliath here. Hope to catch you. See you later.